Hello, this is Darla Drew Lairdall. I'm the president of Backroom Productions, and I'm glad to welcome you today to Don't Miss This. And this will be a special presentation because we're going to be interviewing people at a memorial service for a great local musician, Gary Bloomberg, who passed away a few months ago at the age of 96. Before I get started on this, I would like to thank our sponsors, the Rapid City Arts Council, who distributes the Rapid City Subsidy for the Arts, the NEA through Arts Midwest, and also the South Dakota Arts Council. So thanks for all their support. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit about Gary. He played for probably 70 years. Played clarinet and saxophone and was a consummate jazz man. He brought an air of class to any kind of gig he did, open mic, wherever he showed up. He always had on a suit and a tie and a great hat and his hair in a ponytail. He brought his love for jazz music to every show that he attended. And he also learned how to play keyboard in his later years so that he could accompany himself and then record that and then play to the accompaniment. He played a lot around Rapid City. When he was younger, he toured the Midwest with Lawrence Welk and other jazz bands from South Dakota, including the Shaw Brothers, if you remember back that far. He also left a legacy of billiards and pool playing. He owned his own pool hall, and he taught his children, his daughters, and they then taught their children how to play pool. His wife was a champion, his daughters were champions, and of course, Gary was a champion pool player and a trick shot artist. Now his grandson, Shane Van Boning, is the #1 pool player in the world. And that's a big accomplishment. Championships, he plays everywhere, he wins every time. And of course, he was the apple of his grandfather's eye. Right now, we're going to go to Gary's memorial service, and I interviewed a few of his friends and got a few clips on people's remembrances of Gary and what a fine player and fine person he was here in Rapid City, and his influence extended well beyond Rapid City. So enjoy, and thank you for watching this special presentation. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Jeff Bloomberg, Gary Bloomberg's son. He was a great inspiration as far as music is concerned for me. I tried to follow in his footsteps. I'm a guitar player and more of a country folk player, so his genre and mine didn't match up, but I know he appreciated me. I think I'm the only member in the family that's actually in music, and he was very proud of that. And of course, I'm very proud of his musical career, which parts of it I didn't even know until recently. And so he was a very great inspiration for me as far as pursuing music and just trying to reflect.
What do you remember about your dad being on the road?
My dad was on the road, but most of his gigs, as I was growing up or later on, were in the area, so he wasn't gone a lot as far as music's concerned.
And what did he impress you with the most? His work ethic, his talent. I mean, and then he kept going for so long.
Well, his talent was amazing. Anybody that ever heard him play or hear any of his recordings, but he practiced constantly. He always had a horn, or he self-taught himself on the keyboard, and he was very good with the keyboard, and all of that. It was something that he did constantly. It wasn't something that he did once in a while. So to me, that was a good inspiration as far as playing guitar.
Well, he was a marvelous addition to our community, and he will be so missed. So thank you for your time, Jeff.
Thank you very much.
What's your name and affiliation with Gary Bloomberg?
Hi, my name is John Osborne. I'm from Huron, South Dakota, and I grew up with Jeff Bloomberg in the 60s and graduated in 1972 from high school. We've known each other since probably third grade, but didn't really get to know Gary that well until I was probably in college or even after college. And Jeff kept talking about his dad playing, out in Deadwood, Lead, in the Hills area here. That he was a pretty popular musician, and I knew he had played with some of the big bands, in the 40s, and some really well-known bands.
Well, the Shaw Brothers, and I think even a stint with Lawrence Welk.
Right, yeah. So he was kind of a big deal. We'll just put it that way. But my most memorable moment was we were playing for a fundraiser in Pierre for, I think it was for a tennis court or something like that Jeff was involved in, and so we just got up and played, just jammed away at whatever we were, could come up with, and we played for maybe half an hour, but he just kept telling me to turn down all the time, which. I'll get on it sometimes, and he was right next to me, so that didn't help.
Well, I know you play guitar, and in my world, you can never be too loud on the guitar.
Well, that's good to know.
So, and then you were out here. You played with him for a stint after that out here.
Right. Well, not Rapid City. It was always in Pierre.
Okay.
So and we did play again at I think it was the theater for another fundraiser where he came out and played along with a bunch of other people. But he was a real distinct personality, and and a fabulous musician.
Yes, he was. Yeah.
He was. You could just cover the scales, and you just kind of filled in, and tried not to get in his way. So let him do his thing. That's what I remember.
And don't be too loud.
And try not to drown him out.
Well, thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it. And just want to make sure I got your name, John?
John Osborne, right.
John Osborne. Thank you for your time and memories of Gary. Yep.
Hi, my name's Deb Lux. I've known Gary for many, many years. I first met Gary after I got divorced, and I was a single mom, but I wasn't ready to date, so I needed some kind of an outside activity. So I signed up through the adult education program to take pool lessons, billiard lessons from Gary, and that's how I met him. And I was immediately impressed because his trick shots were just unbelievable. Of course, I never ever reached any sort of stature of billiards playing, but he was a good teacher, and I did play for a while, but then other things in life got in the way. But Gary was also extremely active in the music scene, as we all know, and as I became more involved, I saw more and more of Gary because he would show up to every music event. If it was an open mic, if it was a jam session, Gary was always there. So when you saw that pork pie hat walk into the room, you knew it was going to be a fun night because Gary always raised the level of excitement when he participated, and especially when he brought his saxophone, which was a lot of the time. Gary is also a really charming man, and he loved the ladies, and he loved to flirt, and I was not exempt from that, luckily. And
but he was a lot older than you, right?
Well, yeah, at least 25 years, I'm thinking. But still, he was great. He was fun to talk to. He was a really vivacious kind of personality, and he liked to tell me about his young girlfriend or girlfriends. I never was clear on how many there were, but how he would take them to Vegas, and we had a great time. And I was so happy for him because he was enjoying life. He knew how to enjoy life. And there was one particular evening where we were sitting in a quiet. The music had gotten finished early, so we were talking, and we had a couple of cocktails, and he became a little more flirtatious than usual. And he finally reached out to me and he said, "Well, maybe you and I should take a trip to Las Vegas." And I said, "Gary, I'm too old for you." And we laughed, and things went on, and I was really sorry I didn't get to see him before he passed. I really did have a plan to go see him the week after he passed. I had it on the calendar to go see him, and I missed out on it. So
Well, he played jazz and you played blues, but did you ever share the stage together?
we did. There were a couple jam sessions where there was a bunch of us on stage together. But I remember seeing him at the Canyon Lake Club with Rudy and the Tones. Used to go there with my parents and have the lobster. It was awesome. And because that was the only place that had any good live music at the time. There was a lot of country and rock in town, but there wasn't any jazz or blues. I always admired Gary for just being able to fit in with anybody who was playing, and I also was very admirable of the musicians' respect for him, because he was an icon and still is an icon in the music community, and he's going to be missed.
Yeah, I think he played live till he was in his 90s.
Yeah, for sure. I hadn't seen him play for several years, but he had played well up into, I believe, COVID was probably the last time I saw him play was before COVID. That changed everything.
Well, he will be missed, and thank you for your time, Dad. Those are some great stories and good memories of
Yeah,
Gary.
we love Gary.
Thanks,
Darla.
Yeah, I play a lot of pool, and I, hang out in pool halls and stuff. But he goes, well, there's one in that little showroom at Radak, and he goes, see if you can go put that one together. And I'm going, put that together? What the hell is he talking about? Anyway, so I went in the room and I kind of assembled the pool table, and then we talked a little bit more, and I went home. And next day I went over there, and he goes, I'd like to hire you to pour beer at night and work on pool tables. I was building guitars. He let me use his wood shop for guitars, and it was the start of a great deal and a long relationship. But when I came back the next day, I said, I know you want to let me work here, and it's really unusual because I play in a band and I got to have weekends off. And he looks at me, and I'm scared to death that he's going to go, well, you can't have weekends. He looks at me and he goes, of course you do. That's when the gigs are, So, and it was like, oh man, finally a boss that just completely understands me, And so that was the start of so many adventures with Gary. And I'm 21 years old, and he's close to 50 at that time, and we partied a lot, even with that age difference. Timmy and I were talking. We'd go to the dog track, we'd go to the Embers, we'd go to the TNT, Gills. We had a great time back then, and fortunately, we both worked our way out of those habits over the years. And we'd go out and listen to Rudy and the Tones back in those days. Rudy Hunter and the Tones would play the Canyon Lake Club or the Embers, and I remember he'd take me home, and I'd be sitting at my apartment, and my phone would ring, sometimes 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, and he'd go, Don, you got to hear this. He'd get his clarinet out when he got home and start playing clarinet tunes over the phone. It was just a great time, and it was a 45 plus year relationship with him. I saw him just a few days before he passed, and we talked like it was 1978. So, I've held his hand for a good deal of time that day, and the man still had a grip like you could not believe. And anyway. So me and Gary had a lot of great times together, and of course I'll never forget him. But one other story, and it was during that, he trained me to do pool tables, which I did my entire life until just a few years ago. I had a pretty successful pool table service. But one time we were over on West Boulevard. You guys know Gary. We used to drink a little bit. And so it was in the afternoon, and we were setting up this snooker table, and there was a bowl of what he thought was peanuts. He grabs a big handful of them, and it was dog food. Lots and lots more stories. Anyway, thanks for